And thank you guys for joining us. This is a special state of the industry, not our usual morning, so I appreciate you guys jumping in. And typically we start our day with the local stats to see what's happening right here in our community. We're going to go a little bit different direction with that today. We have an incredible guest on the call today. And we're going to do some massive awards recognition, our first ever Xperience Brokerage Network awards presentation. So, and of course, we're going to round out the day with some powerful words from Chris. So stay tuned for all of that. But we're going to start today's presentation with the best of the vision speech. And the reason why we decided to do this today was twofold. Number one, our local MLSs have yet to give out our local stats. So stay tuned for more information on that. It is important to know what's happening locally. But besides that, Chris, one of the most common things I'm getting people requests for throughout the network and an educational front is, what stats should we be looking at? How do we interpret them? And most importantly, how do we incorporate them into our businesses, our scripts, and then how do we project that out to opportunities in our businesses? So today I have pulled out of the over 100 slides of the vision speech, what I feel are the 18 most powerful slides to understand, to be able to articulate, and to incorporate in your business. So we are going to get started. In the first category of slides, we're going to talk about economic factors and unemployment. Obviously, these are some of the big factors that we're talking about every day, that your clients are talking about, that the industry is talking about. And also a lot of these slides are going to have things that are going to have underlying fears, concerns, etc., that we're going to be able to help guide and advise our clients as they navigate this, the home buying or selling process. So the first one, of course, we're very familiar with this, is the unemployment historical perspective. And I think the important point here is the perspective part of this slide, right? Where you're seeing that in 2020, that purple one on the left, they call that catastrophic increase of unemployment that reached up to 14.7% right after COVID hit, as it compares to the unemployment during the Great Recession. Now, you guys, it's important to note that when we look at an unemployment basis, that 6 is a good thing, right? 5 is better, 4 is even better. And when we get into the 3s, we really consider that to be virtually full employment, which is where we started 2020. The other thing to look at on this slide is that unlike the unemployment during the Great Recession, where they would call this persistent unemployment, we had what they refer to as that catastrophic acute unemployment. And the biggest thing that we know is that unemployment, unlike the past, was disproportionately distributed across our population, which is the next most important slide. And honestly, this is one of Gary's favorite slides that he talks about and really breaks down that disproportionate amount of unemployment. This is also something that really impacted our real estate industry. So what you're looking at is on the left side of this graph is the sectors that are the least impacted by unemployment in the year of 2020, and the far right are the most affected. And what Jay said during the speech was that it was important to know that we did not have an economic crisis. We had a health crisis that spilled over into the economy, and it impacted our population unevenly. So blue indicates income, yellow unemployment in August 2020, and purple is, of course, that unemployment in January of 2021. No surprise here. The people that made the most money are literally back to full employment. And in fact, if you look at that financial activity sector, not only are they back to full and what we consider full employment, they are actually 0.3% higher in employment than they were even pre-COVID. Now, of course, far right, by far the catastrophic unemployment hit our leisure and hospitality. They reached an all-time high of 21.3% unemployment, with that average of 15.9% in January of 2021. Now, what was interesting is to kind of see the number 2 on that was construction at 9.4% were still unemployed on January of 2021, followed by transportation and warehousing, and then of course that retail. This is what you need to look at to understand what economists call that K-shaped recovery, right? And that K-shaped recovery is when we have a disproportionate amount of economic growth with some far left financial activities. Not only did they sustain their income, but their income and their employment is on the rise, where our lower income levels are actually continuing to experience this, the devastation of the economy last year. Now, housing by age. This one has some effects immediately, but we also wanted to project this out into the future for you guys, right? Once again, no surprise, 9.7% of our unemployment came from the 24% or younger. Now, they only made up 3% of our home purchasers. 25 to 30, 6.8%, and they make up 23% of our home buyers. And then, of course, in that 35 plus range, made up the 74% of our home buyers, and they were only affected at a 5.3 rate. So the home buyers that were hit the hardest did not impact our sales in 2020, largely because they were not the largest population of people purchasing the home. Now, if we were to look at what I think that they didn't say, but if you were to go project into the NAR stats, we have to look down into the future. What we don't yet know is the impact of the economic devastation of the incomes in the 24 and younger, 25 to 34, where their incomes dropped and they had to deplete their economic reserves to survive this past year. So what we don't yet know is how that's going to play out in the next 3 to 5 years as those people would enter the home purchasing area opportunity. And we're expecting that could be further delayed. These were also the people that were already being affected by very high student loan debt. So what we're looking at is the historical average of new home buyers made up 40%. Since 2010, that number has been dropping to an all-time low of 2020 of this new home buyers at 31%. NAR said that since 1981, the average home buyer age already increased by 7 years. So the question is knowing those factors and the fact that they were the hardest hit in 2020, will we continue to see that age average or that median age increase and a continued delay of first-time buyers' entry into the market? All right, so that's a little bit about unemployment, how the unemployment levels of 2020 affected us immediately in the moment, as well as how some of those factors are going to project out into what we should expect over the next 1, 3, and 5 years. Now, housing sales monthly, you guys know a lot of this. It was an incredible year for real estate, right? We had you can see that in 9 out of 12 months, we exceeded our 2019 transaction count, right? So despite COVID, we still threw down a historical year. Now, you can see that also, if we were to project out, what has 2021 looked like? Well, January was also 6.8 months, so we started another strong year. February numbers are not out quite yet, but what I can do is give you a sneak peek of the fact that February and Keller Williams transaction count was the highest a real estate transaction month in the history of the Northwest region. So we are expecting that monthly home sales to continue to be strong and are strong. So when Gary talked about this slide, one of the things that he really talked about was and we hear it out there in the field, like, you know, it was a rough year. How did you do last year? It was a tough year. You know how it was, how it is. It's COVID time. And Gary's response to that was, if you had a rough year, then you really need to re-examine your business. You need to re-examine your lead generation, and you need to re-examine your customer service techniques, because more transactions happened in the year of 2020 than any other time in history. The question was, were you part of those transactions in your personal business? Okay, so here the home sales for the annual. This is just a quick glimpse. We're going to go through it really quickly. All they did was examine the best previous 5 years in history, right before the recession, and as well as the last 5 years. And you can see that we are literally going neck to neck with the best 5 years in history of home sales. All right, inventory. Once again, no surprises here. The balance is 6 months. We all know that. However, the annual supply nationwide last year was 1.9%. Now, why is this? Well, some of us are laughing because here in Oregon, I think we would all love 1.9 months of inventory. That would be a great number for us to see. Now, we know that most of you are not in the inventory level in your local areas. Now, why is this? Gary and Jay said, what's feeding our low inventory? Well, there's a lot of things, right? Of course, those low interest rates, but largely it's also due to a lack of housing starts that just did not give us as much inventory that we needed to continue to feed, especially that new home buyer section. Inventory on an annual rate, you can see the average months of inventory across the United States for all of 2020 was 3.1 months. Once again, we would have loved to see that in Oregon. That wasn't our experience here, but you can see, like we talked about, we had historical low inventory levels. Now, this is also one of Gary's favorites, and one to really share with your clients and put into those presentations and expectations conversations is there was lots of slides on mortgage rates. I just chose this one because it shows you from 1972 to 2020 what those interest rates look like, right? With the average being about 7.91. From 72 to 2020, the historical average from 1990 to 2020 at 6%. And then of course, we finished the year at an average of 3.11% interest rates. Now, they always say that, remember, housing is an essential business. People are always buying and selling. He often talks about how he launched his business in the 80s when interest rates were at 16%. So this is the inventory conversation paired with your interest rate conversation with the benefit of that 3.11. And just to make that special note that if interest rates were to go up by 1%, it equals about 10% of the home purchasing power. So as long as our interest rates remain low, that affordability stays high. This graph is just showing you the median home price over the entire year of 2020, as well as the interest rates dropping from 3.62 to 2.68. Now, we have seen those go up slightly over the last couple of months. We're not going to go too deep into interest rates. You guys are well aware of what's happening out there and how that feeds our home buyers. This slide was really interesting. This is your annual home price amount versus what the trend line would be. So we ended the year with once again, the median home price in the United States was $297,000. Also a number we don't see in a lot of your local areas, but important to note. Now, you can see if we were to follow that trend line during the last recession, we dropped way below that. And we have been progressively getting closer and closer and closer to that trend line. If we had stayed on the trend line, it would have been about $317,000 for the median home price. We're sitting at $297,000. But the important thing to remember is that based on average appreciation rates, historical average appreciation rates, that if we continue to go up for the next 2 years at a 7% appreciation rate, we will be right back on the trend line. So the question we have to ask is we're below the trend. Do we believe we're going to see a 7% appreciation over the next 2 years to get us back up to what the historical trend rate would be? That's the big question. And this year will tell the story of whether we will be back on that trend line or not. There you go, your annual appreciation levels. Of course, this was the third highest year in annual appreciation, coming in at 9% across the country, only beat by 2013, where it was 11.5, and 2005, right before the Great Recession of 12.2. So you can see that we had a strong year. So the question is whether we'll follow up a 9% year with a 7% year, which would also be an incredibly high year if you look statistically average over our history. All right, affordability, this is the big one. Even with home prices on the rise, with interest rates continuing to stay low, our affordability level came in at 16. And so that is only 3 points higher than the all-time low, which happened in 2012 at 13%. So even though we've got increasing home prices and competitive situations, and in a lot of cases multiple offers or bidding wars, we are still showing that homes are incredibly affordable based on historic trends. Okay, so all of that is a lot of information to support you and your business, and a lot of information to build it in. So we're going to very quickly just go through some opportunities so we can introduce our next speaker so you can build it in. Distressed properties, you guys, here we go. For those people who are waiting for all those distressed properties to hit the market, guess what? It's less than 1% of our sales out there. Now, this is one of those things that we know that over 5 million homes are currently in forbearance. So this is something we're going to watch as an opportunity as we go into 2021. New home starts, right? They call this the lost decade. We were behind in home starts for 10 years. We are now getting back on track. Gary himself said this is one of the biggest opportunities for every single real estate business out there. And he said you should be out knocking on doors right now to find land for builders to feed your listing inventory and our local inventory. All right, changes in home preferences. You guys, this is just something to watch. Demand for home offices, large backyards, high-speed internet. What our consumers are asking for is changing. Stay on top of that. The importance of proximity to work and amenities. Clients showed interest in suburban areas as opposed to rural areas. And of course, these changes on preference boosted demand for new construction, and as well as change in needs. And some of those include surges in desirable markets as people experience increased mobility, people moving to less expensive markets, and people less focused on living near the office. Important to note, they're saying in future trends, we should see that as a reverse trend. And then, of course, second homes and vacation homes, as our wealthy get wealthier, are investing in real estate. Whew. And there is Gary's predictions for 2021, 4.6% home sales increase, which would be an incredible year, 7% increase in appreciation, and only 2.2% months of supply of inventory. So not a whole lot of relief in our inventory in 2021. Whew. All right, that wraps it up, you guys. The best slides from Gary's vision speech. If you haven't seen it, please tune in to that. It exists on every single one of your Facebook page. If you have the family reunion, if you were part of family reunion, you can watch it there. I think we covered it all, Chris. What do you think?
I think that's awesome. We'll send out these specific slides as well as a link to the entire video as well in our recap email. Awesome.
All right, we're going to bring on our guest for today. Many of you guys know her. She is one of our top producers, Miss Amy McCleod. Not only is she a top producer of our Capital City location, she is an incredible maps coach. And we're going to have a little conversation about getting into action. Amy, 2020, 92 units. You have 6 people on your real estate team. Maps coach coaching 34 clients at a time. Whoo! That is an abundant schedule, right? A lot happened in 2020 and you packed a lot in. So tell me, what is your secret sauce? How did you throw such a high production year down, as well as guide and lead your team as well as other producers through this year?
I think it boiled down to 3 things, Leslie. It was systems, models, and a schedule.
Systems, models, just that simple.
Just that simple. Gary says this business is not, it's simple, not necessarily easy, but it is that simple.
So I didn't hear you say anything about creativity there.
Not too much. Not too much. No. I mean, it really starts with, we know why we're doing what we're doing. We have a plan for it. And so then we just simply map out the plan using Gary's models and systems. And then those flow to our calendar, each one of us. And then it's checking in with the team to make sure that they're using the same, we touch base, we have accountability on a daily and a weekly basis. And we're using a 12-week year. So we don't allow things to go on until, it's too late to make changes. We're looking literally daily, are you on task? And then weekly, are you on task? And balancing that against what our targets are.
So you truly are the master of systems, models, and most importantly, implementation, right? One of the things I wanted to hit on is coming out of family reunion, we have a lot of agents that are so excited. They were infused with all of these incredible ideas, these awesome ahas, things that they want to implement. And now we're 2 weeks later, and many find that they have implemented nothing or very few things. So how do we help them take those ideas and go from E to P and get them into action, Amy?
I think one of the challenges of family reunion or any function like that is that it's a banquet and there's so many choices and you can find yourself running from pillar to post. But Gary said it several times during family reunion, and that is get back to basics. So part of what's important on our team is to know what is it that you want to accomplish, and then what is the work that's required to make that happen. And it's really very simple. And so then everything has to filter through, is this going to be a distraction to the work, or is this going to help me get my work accomplished? But we're in a contact sport. And so we have to be willing to make the contacts, and anything else. Gary has even said that doing your lead generation is more important to him than a listing appointment. I thought that was pretty amazing when he shared that.
Lead gen more important than a listing. We went over and I would like to do this quickly. You talked about kind of a 6-point plan of how we go from E to P, starting with why are you here? And you referenced it as your soul thing, right?
Yeah.
So we think about what we want to do, but first we have to start with our soul thing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. You know, I only came to Keller Williams about 5 years ago. So all the other brokerages that I've been in focus on transactions. And there's a lot of culture in our industry where you walk into the broker and he says, how many deals do you want to do? And if you did 24 deals last year, well, I think I can do one more a month. And so we randomly pick these numbers out of the air. And what Gary has given us is a recipe for success. And, you know, just like you would bake a cake, you've got the ingredients for the recipe, but you have to start with why would you even take the time to bake the cake? And so that comes out in the form of our allocation form. And a lot of people look at the life by design and they start thinking about Bentleys and big houses and all those things that are ego driven. But the reality is that our soul will not let us do those things unless they are anchored in reasons that really matter to you as a human being. And so the allocation form may look like a representation of material things, but in fact will not be accomplished unless they're anchored in things that truly matter. And I use myself as an example. I have a 401k on my allocation form. I have rentals that I intend to buy, but the anchor for me is that in my old age, I never want my children to have to deprive my grandchildren of resources to take care of me. That's the soul anchor that gets me up every morning to work really long days at this point in my life.
I love your recipe conversation. You told me this yesterday, and it was, we're given a recipe, or in this case, a model, right? And the problem is that we choose the pieces that we want to use, and then we're surprised it doesn't turn out like the recipe, right? Like,
right. In you know, in good recipes, you follow the order of the recipe. Well, interestingly enough, Gary's systems and models follow an order. So you start with the why, or what's the significance. We try to move away from why because our mother always said, why do you do that? But if we move to what's the significance of this goal, and then go into pressure testing it so that we know exactly what it's going to take, and then move into what is our plan for how we're going to make that happen. It's not randomly pulling out, you know, a GPS or randomly pulling out a 411. Out of context, they don't make sense. Out of order, they don't get the cake baked.
I love that. So we have our recipe, we've decided on our soul thing. We then evaluate the work and decide, are we willing to do it, right?
Well, and what's interesting about that, Leslie, is we've really had 2020 has been this intense opportunity where when you say, when we evaluate, it's truly, will you do this work no matter what shows up? A virus, wildfires, sticky political discourse? Will you show up and stay focused? Is your why so important to you that no matter what shows up, it's going to happen? And that's where often people, a lot of go off the grid is life going to show up? And you have to expect that it will. It was very interesting last year when this all hit, Gary made the statement, take your lead generation goal and double it. And as we saw across MAPS coaches who did that, those that doubled their contact goal, they hit their targets. Those who didn't suffered.
So in the 6-part plan, we've done all those things. We've decided we're going to do the work. We make the plan. We break it into bite-sized chunks. We put it into our calendar. And then you said the most important thing at the end, which I thought was interesting, was because that's all the stuff we hear a lot of, was reflection. Tell me about why that is the critical piece.
Well, and the 411 is the tool that you can use for that. Chris has been talking about taking time for reflection. So setting up a practice every single week where you're looking at what was it that I wanted to accomplish, and did I get that done? If I didn't get it done, did I fall 10 contacts short? Did I fall 5 leads short? then looking forward to this week or the time that we have left, how are we going to now make up that margin that we didn't hit? That's the reflection that keeps you coming back. We can all veer off the road, you know, the airplane that goes 1 degree off, we got to bring it back. And so you have to have time, or you're just running on the wheel. You don't really know where you are, and you end up at the end of the year disappointed again. And we'd rather not reinforce failure. We want to reinforce success.
I love that. So Amy, we are coming up at the end of Q1. We just went to family reunion. We got all these exciting things. You've given us a ton of nuggets. What is one thing that we can do to actually put this in action starting tomorrow?
Well, that's a very cute lead in. So tomorrow, actually, I'm going to do a Zoom class on putting in sequential order the systems and the models. We call it Connect 4. And so everyone's invited at 1:30. Just show up. You can have the link, and I'll show you how we put this together in a linear fashion so that you have the recipe in the order, starting with first things first, ending up on your calendar, including putting that time for reflection, usually on Sunday nights.
I love it. Amy, thank you so much, you guys. We will drop the link into the chat box. We will also include the flyer and the link in our wrap-up email so you can join Amy to learn more, the master of models herself, in her Connect 4 class tomorrow via Zoom. Thank you so much, Amy, for all your wisdom today. We truly appreciate you. And thank you, Sarah, for dropping it into the chat box already. Have an amazing day, Amy.
All right. Have a great week.
All right. Connect 4 with Amy. What an opportunity. All right, Chris, we're going to transition to something new and that I'm very, very excited about. And can you see my screen okay? Is it coming through? Perfect. All right, you guys. Well, across the network, we had an incredible year. We just talked about one of our top agents, how we got from E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful, how we conquer our goals. And these agents throughout the network truly did that in 2020. Each of your local market centers have already celebrated your top performers. And today we are going to announce the top performers across the network. All right, let's do this thing. I hope most of you are on the call today. We will be giving out awards in 3 categories: solo, team, and group. As a reminder, for those of you new to the awards, a solo agent is a single agent in sales. A team means there are 2 sales agents contributing to the transactions, and a group is 3 or more licensed sales agents contributing to sales. We are going to start this off with our production awards. Runner-up, closed units, buyer side in our solo category. With 10.8 million in volume, 46 units, and 121 in GCI, Don Downing from Southern Oregon. Oh, hold on, I feel like I've got some. Top agent with closed units, buyer side, solo category for 2020 with over 16 million in volume, 47 units, and over 381 in GCI, Nick Nelson from our Eugene Springfield. All right, runner up, closed units, buyer side. In our team category, we have a 2-way tie. We wanted to recognize both of these incredible agents. The first with 42 units and 14 million in volume, over 336,000 in GCI. From Eugene Springfield's, the Stephanie Coates Real Estate Team. All right, our 2-way tie, runner-up, closed units, buyer side with 42 units, over 19 million in volume. We have the Sarah Hasselman group from Sunset Corridor. Yay. Top team, closed units, buyer side. with 55 buyer units and almost 22 million in volume. This year's top team goes to the Lopez Group out of Capital City. All right, runner-up closed units buyer side in our group category with 102 units and almost 57 million in volume and 1.5 million in GCI, the Benson Broker Group out of Capital City. Oh. Our top group closed units buyer side with 137 units, over 69 million in volume and over 568 in GCI, PDX Property Group. Yay! All right, now the topic of 2020 was listings. So we're gonna find out who our top listers were that helped us with that much needed inventory in 2020. And our solo category, runner-up, closed units, solo 34 units and over 12 million in volume, 277 in GCI, Nick Nelson. Oh my gosh, hold on, we forgot. Nick Nelson from Eugene, Springfield. Our top agent closed units, list side, with 45 units and over 19 million in volume. Their 2020 top listing solo agent was Jim Kavanaugh out of Sunset Corridor. 45 units as a solo. That's an incredible year, Jim. All right, runner-up, closed units, list side, team category. 43 units, over 19 million in volume, 368,000 in GCI. Our runner-up is the Sarah Hesselman Group out of Sunset Corridor. Our top team closed units, list side for 2020 with 59 units, over 18 million in volume and over 447 in GCI, the Carter Stark team out of West Portland. Runner-up closed units, list side in our group category with 96 units and over 30 million in volume, over 807,000 in GCI. Congratulations, the Rutledge Property Group out of Southern Oregon. All right, top group closed units, list side with 113 listings. Thank you for those. 65 million in volume and over 1.3 million in GCI. This year's top list side goes to Maurer Group Realty out of Sunset Corridor. All right, we are now going to recognize our top team members of 2020. All team members have been combined into one category for our top team member based on GCI for 2020. Our runner-up top team member of the year with 54 units, 8.5 million in volume and 248,000 in GCI goes to Brian House out of Eugene, Springfield. All right, our top team member of the year with spectacular stats, 55 units, over 30 million in volume. This year's top team member of the year with over 278,000 of GCI goes to Megan Mager with KWRP. All right, that brings us to our official KWRI awards and a medallion status awards. So this is going to wrap up our awards for this year, starting with our rookie award, based on GCI. In order to qualify for Rookie of the Year, you must be a solo agent that joined us in 2019 and were with us for the entire year of 2020, completing your first year in real estate. The runner-up Rookie of the Year with 20 units, over 5.4 million in volumes and 164,000 in GCI out of Eugene and Springfield. Congratulations, Adam Fernie. Our 2020 Xperience Brokerage Network top Rookie of the Year with 16 units, 7.5 million in volume and 196,000 in GCI. That is an incredible first year. Congratulations, Shannon Goin out of KWRP West Portland. A huge, amazing year. Off to an incredible start of a career. All right. Now to our solo teams and groups. Our runner-up, top solo, based on GCI. Runner-up with 55 units and over 611,000 in GCI and 35 million in volume. Our runner-up goes to Jim Kavanaugh out of Sunset Corridor. All right, top solo agent of 2020 for the Xperience Brokerage Network with 83 units, over 21 million and 658,000 in GCI goes to Nick Nelson out of Eugene, Springfield. I know, wow, 83 units is right. Whew. All right, runner-up top team awards based on GCI with 72 units, over 30, almost 40 million in volume and 868,000. This year's runner-up is the Kristen Rader Group out of Sunset Corridor. All right, our top team award for 2020 for the Xperience Brokerage Network with 59 units, over 18 million and over 956,000 in GCI. This year's top team award goes to the Carta Stark team. All right, brings us to our final category, our group category, runner-up for 2020 with 174 units, over 96 million in volume. Ooh, that is awesome. And over 2 million in GCI. This year's group runner-up goes to the Maurer Group. And that brings us to our final award, which is our top group based on GCI with 221 units, 106 million in volume, 2.981 million in GCI, PDX Property Group. All right, you guys, that concludes our presentation of the first ever Xperience Brokerage Network All Network Awards. Congratulations to all of our award winners. We will be sending you something special. And of course, you will have the slides to share. We are proud to be in business with you. And that wraps up our celebration part of the day. So Chris, you get to take it from here and follow that.
See if I can get unmuted. Wow, guys, that's impressive. You know, we oftentimes forget the opportunity that the industry we're in creates. And as I look, what I love about our network is we have phenomenal business owners doing it in all different ways. Don't believe that you have to build one way in order to have a phenomenal business. We have solo agents bringing in $600,000, $700,000 of revenue. Think about the profitability of that. Teams doing $1 million+ in revenue, groups doing $2, $3 million in revenue, and every type of business in between. And so what I love about our company and our network is that we support agents of all types. And regardless of how you envision your business, and that's why I appreciated Amy this morning, who's such a models and systems person, by the way. You know, when I first met Amy, I was like, oh, she's pretty dry. Like, she's just, this is how it is. This is what you do. This is what I'm doing next. And yet her business has so much heart within the community, but she follows a system. And she started based on what she wanted to create. And someone posted that mission, and I'm not sure if you caught it, but her mission isn't for her. It's not even for her kids. It's such that her grandkids aren't deprived of something based on her children needing to support her based on poor decisions that she may or may not make. And because she starts there, then she builds a business that is going to prevent that. So I love, Leslie, I love what you've put together today for all of us. So thank you for that. It seems an interesting topic for us to dive into to this one, delayed gratification. But I assure you that every single person, group, team member that was either recognized, named, or was attached to anybody that succeeded in 2020 has developed and built some delayed gratification. It was exactly 1 year ago, by about a week or so off, that we talked about delayed gratification for the first time as a network. Many of you may remember that. Some of us actually, you know, we're new here since then, and most of us probably forgot what I said. So we're going to revisit that. If you want to click through, you have the power to do so, Leslie, I think, right? Or is that me? No, it's you. All right. I'm going to revisit real quickly and talk to you about an experiment that happened in the 70s. Many of you know this experiment. I shared this with our personal team here at PDX Property Group just yesterday, and I thought it was powerful enough to share with all of us, because I actually believe that this quality of delayed gratification, as opposed to instant gratification, is what will be the determining factor for those that succeed in this industry. It doesn't matter who we are, where we're from, what we do, how we're building. Delayed gratification is a necessary in our industry, probably more than many industries. Back in the 70s, there was a social psychologist named Walter Mischel. He became famous for the marshmallow test, right? And that's a bit misleading, but because the test was not just around marshmallows. What he did was he brought typically 4 and 5-year-olds into a room and showed them this would be a weakness of mine, but amazing sugar, right? Like treats, like marshmallows, M&Ms, pretzels, you name it, it was there. And they got to choose what their favorite was. Then they were brought in a room and given one marshmallow. And the person said this, they said, now we're going to leave the room. You can eat it if you wish, but if you don't eat it, when I come back, I'm going to give you a second marshmallow. Now, here's a couple things I want us to focus on. We know this experiment. We're actually going to uncover a new experiment that brings real meaning to this in just a minute. But this is what they said. We're going to leave. We'll give you 2 when we come back. The child didn't know when the person was going to return. There was no, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'll be back in 15. No, it was an indefinite period of time that child was going to need to wait. They were 4 and 5 years old. So what happened? Well, I'm going to actually drop a video into the chat. And I actually want, this is 3.5 minutes of your life that I promise will be worth watching. Don't watch it now. Don't click away. But you'll be able to see exactly what happened, guys, in that experiment. Ultimately, you can imagine some children like just stuffed that marshmallow down their throat. Some of them, like little by little, picked a little bit off, ate a little bit, put it back, thinking no one's going to know if I touched it or not. Other children were able to wait. But the value of the experiment came years later. They followed these children 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, and here's what they found. The children who were willing to delay gratification, and this is what we talked about a year ago today, the children that were willing to delay gratification received higher SAT scores. They had lower levels of substance abuse, right? What's substance abuse? Typically it's self-gratification, right? They had lower likelihood of obesity, right? Instant gratification. They had better responses to stress. They had better social skills as reported by their parents and their teachers. They were genuinely better They had genuinely better scores in almost all areas of life. And that was when they were 15 and 16 and 18. Well, guess what? They looked at them at 30 and 35. And on paper, right? Fair. But on paper, they showed up as more successful in their businesses and jobs and careers. Well, what did that mean? Well, they had a job. What did that mean? That they were building businesses. What did that mean? That they had longevity in their careers. In other words, that series of experiments proved the ability to delay gratification was critical for success in life. Now, success will always come down to choosing the pain of discipline over the ease of distraction. But this brings an interesting question. And this is a question that I had. First, did those children just naturally have more self-control? Were some destined for success? What can we learn, or how can we learn to develop this delayed gratification? And maybe the most important question, why is this so hard? Well, enter a book written by Larry Rosen called The Distracted Mind. In this book, Larry Rosen actually said, here's our challenge. Although we need to continue to build delayed gratification, the world around us is forcing us into instant gratification, right? Our attention span is growing shorter and our tolerance for delay is growing smaller. And why? Well, look at technology, guys, right? Our attention is being controlled by technology. Why have our attention spans gotten shorter? Why is our gratification level, right? Why do we want things faster? Well, look at how we watch TV. Our reward cycle in regards to our engagement with media is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. The next episode begins. Remember back in the day when I was growing, well, I don't watch TV, but if I did, I would have to wait for a week for the next episode to come out, right? Like people got together and watched Friends on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or whatever night that came out. And the next week they got the next episode. Now you binge watch. In fact, you don't even have to push a button. It automatically starts. The next show starts. It's instant gratification. Here's the challenge. Why is this so difficult for our industry? Because unfortunately, guys, you chose an industry of delayed gratification. Nothing happens instantaneously. And if we get stuck on instant gratification, we will convince ourselves, well, we're no good at this industry. Right? I love, one of my favorite highlights is that Rookie of the Year. Now be careful. Some of us will believe, well, gosh, it just instantly happened. And oftentimes, if we're not careful, rookies, if we're not careful, I assure you, if you're going to do 200 grand in your first year, Shannon, some of it was luck. And that's not a takeaway from all your hard work, because I know you and you're an incredibly hard worker, but some of it was luck. And if we're not careful, here's how delayed gratification or instant gratification affects our business. Number one, systems. The issue is we struggle with learning, building, implementing, or changing systems because systems are for the future of our business, right? There is no instant gratification in a system. Amy talked about her system. There is zero instant gratification. Why? Because when you change a system today, it isn't for months, maybe 6 months, 9 months, 12 months that you see the benefits of that system. And because of that, look at your 33 touch. Because it doesn't instantly give you a transaction, we go for years pushing off the work it takes to get to those systems. 2, lead conversion. Instant gratification kills our lead conversion. On the screen, you'll see 2 interesting graphs. The first one is, what's your chance of making a contact, right? What's your opportunity? What's the likelihood that you make contact on the first call, second call, third call? And then conversely, look at the right-hand side of the screen. That shows the typical salesperson and what they're willing to do. How many people make 1 call, 2 calls, 3 calls? Go to the next slide, Leslie, and you'll see broken down for you what those stats show. Like you have a 30% chance of making contact at call 1, a 61% chance in call 2, 70 and 3, 81 and 4, 84 and 5, 90% chance of making contact by the 6th call. But how many salespeople make 6 calls? 3%. I assure you that people that you heard, right, or saw their name, they are part of the 3% of the industry. Now, that could be discouraging. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing because only 3% of your competition is going to have a 90% chance at the leads that are coming into your business. but instant gratification will kill your business. Why? Because you will have zero lead conversion. Instant gratification is I'll call once, if they pick up, awesome. Well, you have a 30% chance of contact, and then you have to factor in your conversion rate of the conversation that you're having. But if you're stuck in instant gratification, I assure you, you probably didn't practice your script. What's the third way that instant gratification will kill your business? Financials. Honestly, instant gratification will do this. We will start something and stop something, start something and stop something, start something and stop something. And then all of a sudden, what we're doing is spending money on our business instead of investing money into our business. Investments don't turn into wins overnight. It takes delayed gratification. So in 2 minutes, how do we improve our instant gratification demand or desire? Well, here's the next study I'm going to talk to you about. So years later, recently, they did a new study and they said, well, let's redo this marshmallow test, but instead, let's figure out what really leads to delayed gratification, what leads to children being willing to not eat that marshmallow. So they brought 2 groups together, guys. The first group was exposed to a series of unreliable experiences. What does that mean? They brought kids in and they gave them a box of crayons and they said, hey, we're going to come back in a few minutes and we'll bring you a bigger box of crayons. And then they brought some kids in, they said, here's some stickers. And then they said, but if you wait, we're going to bring you some better stickers and more stickers in just a little while. Well, then they came back and the kids said, where's the bigger box of crayons? Where are my stickers? And you know what the person said? Oh, I forgot them. Terrible, I know. Oh, I forgot them. The second group, they said the same thing. And when they came back, guess what they gave the children? Well, the promised crayons and the promised stickers. Then they did the marshmallow test. What do you think happened? The first kids, the first group that were promised crayons and didn't get it, said, no, I'm not falling for this. And they ate the marshmallow straight up. Zero delayed gratification. The second group that got the crayons after they were promised, they waited. They're like, oh, I can wait this one out. I'm going to take 2 marshmallows. What does that mean, guys? It means that trust in a system, trust in a model, trust that the activity will bring a result, will lead to delayed gratification. Guys, you need to trust in the system and model of the real estate business and the cycle of real estate leads. You can stop sharing, Leslie. The interesting thing around delayed gratification is it is not an innate skill. Those 4 and 5-year-olds, perhaps as a child, they trusted, right? They were fed when they were hungry. They were clothed when they were cold. Their parents were there. And maybe those that ate the marshmallow, maybe they lacked trust for whatever reason. So our experiences impact our delayed gratification. Our experiences in the industry impact our delayed gratification. So if you're lacking trust in the activity, connect with your coach, connect and make sure that we continue to build trust, because trust was the underlying reason why we're able to build delayed gratification. You know what's destroying that trust? Is these social posts of instant reward and hey, social media has destroyed delayed gratification because everyone posts their wins. Everyone posts how amazing they are. Everyone posts everything that goes right. And if you're in that moment right now in your business where things are going wrong, you're thinking, well, it's not happening for me right now. And that actually degrades or erodes our trust in playing the long game over time. Delayed gratification is going to be the #1 skill this year that we need to build. And we have built it. In 2020, if you've been here, you have built some delayed gratification. We need to continue building it, and it's going to be based on trust. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Watch for the wrap up with the link to the 4 Connect tomorrow. Also, we have an incredible mastermind on the 36 Touch with Miss Dar Rogers tomorrow at 9 a.m.